Podcasting, video. This is the battle royale. This is what we're talking about today. Which one is right for you? I'm going to share with you what is the same about them, what makes them both powerful forms of content. I'm going to tell you the difference between the two. There are a lot of differences, but I'm going to kind of focus on the key differences, and then I will give you 7 criteria for deciding which one is right for you and your business, which is really critical here, right? We can't be doing this in a bubble. We have to be thinking about how it applies to your business as a strategy. So if you don't know me, my name is Valerie McTavish, and I do help female entrepreneurs with their video content strategy, with their video marketing strategy. And I help them get video confidence so that they can use that strategy to grow their business. Now, what you might not know about me is that in addition to what I do with the video side of content marketing, I also have a podcast side. Now, my background is that I have worked in television television and video production for over 30 years. In the last 10 years, I've been working with companies on their video marketing strategies and helping female entrepreneurs get video confident. But the sort of side business that I have is helping podcasters. And this is a very natural thing for me because in addition to working in video and television, I've also worked in radio for well over a decade, almost 2. But here's the truth of it. My husband has always worked in radio, and we work together a lot of the time in our businesses. He kind of stays behind the scenes on the video side of things, and I stay a little bit behind the scenes on the podcast side of things. But what I've been able to do over the last almost decade now is help launch podcasts for entrepreneurs, as well as help entrepreneurs get their podcast more aligned with their business. And I have worked on dozens of podcasts in this capacity, as well as producing a podcast. I'm a producer on a couple of podcasts right now. So I've definitely got my toe in the podcast pond. So don't think that this is going to be an unfair fight. I may have a slight bias towards video, but I definitely know both sides of the argument. So let's dive right in with how both of these options are great options for you if you're an entrepreneur looking to connect with an audience, looking to increase your reach, looking to really improve engagement and get more sales, right? So the one thing that is really very similar between the two is that both video and podcasting is great for building a relationship with your ideal customer. So it's a great way for people to get to know you. It's a great way for you to connect with people. Both podcasting and video can do that for you. Podcasting and video can both also really help you in building your authority. And this is really important. People need to believe that you know what you're talking about. Now, you know what you're talking about, right? You know that you have a solution to their problem, but they need to see you as an expert. They need to see you as that solution. So both podcasting and video do a great job with building authority. The other thing that both video and podcasting can do for you is improve your discoverability, right? Putting yourself out there, whether it's video or podcast, is going to help people find you. It's also going to help your SEO. If you do it right and you have video content or you have podcast content on your website, that's going to help increase the search engine. It's going to help optimize the search engine for your website because you're going to have fresh content on a regular basis. So this is going to be really beneficial to you if you are trying to get people to your website in order to get them into your funnel. So think about that. Those are all the benefits there. But the other thing that is true for both video and podcasting is that you need a strategy. Now let me say that again. You need a strategy. Whether you're doing podcasting or you're doing video, you need a strategy. You need to be intentional with what you're sharing on either medium. You need to make sure that you are thinking about the listener or the viewer as you create your content, right? A lot of times, and I think this is maybe more true with podcasting, what tends to happen is people think, oh, my conversations are interesting, I'll just share them with the world and that's going to be beneficial to my business, right? They're thinking about themselves instead of thinking about their listener. Same goes for video, right? We have a tendency, especially with the shorter social media videos, to be just kind of sharing content for the sake of sharing content, getting ourselves out there, which is beneficial, but it's going to be significantly better for your business if you're intentional about it. So, for both podcasting and video, you cannot skip the strategy, right? By the way, if you are trying to figure out your strategy for video, I do have a resource for you. It's a free resource. It's my 9 steps to video marketing mastery. So the 9-step map is yours for free. If you want to pop 9 steps in the comment, I will absolutely get that to you after I finish up here. Okay, so just pop 9 steps in the comment and I will get you the map to your video marketing strategy. All right, so that's how they're the same, right? They're going to build the relationship. They're going to help grow your authority. They're going to improve your SEO, and you need a strategy whether you're doing podcasting or video. So here is where they diverge. This is where things get a little bit different. So obviously, the equipment that you're going to use is going to be different from podcasting to video. Now, with podcasting, you are going to want to have a good podcast mic. And actually, the one that I held up before, and I was playing around a little bit, this is a very good, inexpensive, about $100, less than $100 podcast mic. It's the Audio Technica 2100, ATR 2100. And so something like that is something that you're going to need. You don't want to be creating a podcast, especially if it's to support your business. If it's a marketing tool for your business, you don't want to create a podcast that doesn't sound good. Many people listen to podcasts with earphones on, right? So you're right inside their head. You don't want to be messing around with that. So the equipment is a little bit different. On the podcast side, you're going to need a good mic. You're going to need some sort of software to record your audio to, and then you're probably going to need to figure out how to edit that audio. Lots of great tools for that now. It's easier than ever to edit your own podcast. So don't get overwhelmed by the technical limitations that you might feel you have around podcasting. Very easy to figure out. On the video side, you probably have the equipment that you need. Now, yes, you definitely want to sound as good as you can. So having a microphone like this one is a great idea. You need some kind of camera, but a webcam can work. The camera on your phone is fantastic. So you don't really need a lot more equipment than you already have. But the same thing goes, you're going to need somewhere to record that video, and you're maybe going to want to edit. Now, you can go live in either instance and let the foibles be the foibles. If you stumble, it's okay. But more specifically with podcasting, you want to be careful not to waste people's time with a lot of, rambling. So be careful with that. So the amount of equipment that you need is going to be a little bit different on either side, and the amount of time that it's going to take you is a little bit different as well. Now, well-organized video strategies are going to require you to have at least an outline for your videos, if not a script. So take that into consideration. And it's the same for podcasting. You're going to want to have an outline, potentially a script, but you have to be pretty good at reading and sounding natural if you're going to go with the script. And it depends if you're doing interviews or if you're just presenting information. So a couple of differences there between podcasting and video. The other big difference between podcasting and video is where people will consume your content. So with podcasting, you're going to be putting your podcast on a feed. And so you need a distributor like Libsyn or Transistor. You're going to have some sort of distributor who's sharing your podcast with all of the platforms like Google Podcast. I was about to say iTunes, not iTunes anymore. Apple Podcast, Spotify, those are sort of the top ones, right? So you want a platform that's going to distribute it to all of those. And you're basically going to have people consuming it in sort of one way, right? Most people are going to be listening to the podcast and, usually doing something else, right? So they're either commuting or they're doing the dishes, they're walking the dog, that kind of thing. The content for your video can actually be in multiple places. So this is one of the biggest differences between podcast and video. Podcast, people are going to listen to it on their podcast player. Video, they're going to be consuming it in a lot of different places. So you can have one video that is on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn, right? You can have, like this video, Facebook and YouTube, right? So you can have it in multiple places at once, and people will discover it in different places, not just based on the type of phone they have. So take that into consideration. Plus, with video, and this is true with podcasts as well, you can often repurpose your video. You can break it down. You can use snippets from a longer video to create shorter videos, and you can put those videos on your reels or your stories. So there's lots of different ways to be reusing your video and to have different formats for your video. That does also create some challenges on the video side, which is different from the podcast side, right? Like the podcast side, you're going to create one podcast, one episode, you're going to put it up to your distributor, and it's going to get sent out to all the platforms. Video, you might have to adjust the format a little bit depending on where that video is going. So for example, if you've got landscape like you're watching now, you might actually crop it into a square video so that it can fit on different platforms. Or you might try to put some, to make it into a portrait so that you can share it on stories or reels. All right, so lots of differences there between podcast and video. I would also say, and this is a little bit of a personal opinion, which is, my prerogative here. I personally feel that while both podcasting and video are really great at building relationships with your audience, I feel that the video side is a more personal connection. And my argument for this is that the creating videos and doing video marketing is more like getting on a Zoom call with someone versus a phone call with someone. There is a deeper connection when people can see you, right? Oftentimes you're listening to a podcast and you can't really picture the person who's talking. And so if you can't picture the person who's talking, it's hard for them to stick in your mind. It's hard for you to feel like they're a friend, right? Because most of the time when we meet people, we meet them in person, we meet them face to face, we can associate a person's face with their voice. And that makes your message a little bit stronger. So that's a big difference for me, that on the video side, you can definitely get a deeper personal connection sooner than on the podcast side. Now, on the podcast side, I've got to put one in the camp of podcasts because I said I was going to try to be unbiased here. Podcasts are easier to consume. People can be listening to a podcast and doing a whole bunch of other things, right? Video is a little bit harder to do that. Sometimes people will have a video on in the background, especially on YouTube, right? They're interested in the information. They'll press play and they won't worry about what the visuals look like. But podcasting is built for that. Podcast is built for content on the move. And so this is an easy way for people to consume your content is through podcasts. So that's definitely, a check in that camp over there in the podcast side. The other big difference is going to be from a business perspective, the ROI. Now, this is going to be different. It's going to depend on how you produce your videos or your podcasts. But for the most part, marketers generally agree that they get higher ROI from their videos than they do from their podcasts. And one of the big reasons that this is true is especially if you are in the ads world. If you're creating ads, it's much easier to convert a video that's working into an ad than it is to take a podcast and try to create an ad out of it. So take that into consideration from a bigger marketing perspective, from a business perspective. Video is going to be a little bit more flexible in terms of being able to support that return on investment. So those are the main differences, right? Different equipment, different amount of time that goes in, different learning curve. You're also going to have different platforms and different ways that your ideal customer is going to be listening or consuming your content. The personal connection is a differentiator as well. I personally feel that video allows for a deeper personal connection faster, build up that trust factor a little bit quicker, that know, like, and trust factor. And podcast is definitely going to be easier to consume. And people will build a habit. If they like your podcast, they will build a habit around listening to it. You know, the average podcast listener listens to about 7 hours of podcasting per week. Now, that's a lot, right? So getting in on that mix can be really valuable in terms of building that relationship if they're showing up for you every week and they're consuming your content every single week. So take that into consideration. All right, so lots of things that are the same, lots of benefits overall for either form of content, and then lots of differences. So let's move on to how do you decide? How do you decide between video and podcast, right? Okay. Number one thing I want you to think about is the audience. Who are you trying to connect with? Who is your ideal customer? Are they more likely to be watching videos or are they more likely to be listening to podcasts? Now, the numbers, the statistics show that more men than women listen to podcasts. So take that into consideration, right? You also want to think about the format itself. Podcast tends to lend itself to slightly longer content versus video where most videos are going to be, you know, if they're a short or a reel, then they're going to be, you know, under a minute. But if they are just videos that you're producing, they're going to be around that 2-minute mark. And if you're doing lives, then you might be 20, 30 minutes even, right? Depending on how much content you're sharing. So with a podcast, the average podcast length is about 30 minutes. Now be careful here. Be very careful here because a recent study showed that the number one thing that people disliked about podcasts was when they were too long, when they ramble on and on and on and on. So don't take this as a carte blanche to just go crazy with your podcast length. You definitely want to be thinking about your audience and what they need to hear, what kind of information they actually need in order for your podcast to be valuable to them and for them to put you in their subscription list, to put you in their roster of podcasts that they listen to every single week. Okay? So think about your audience. And this goes back to that strategy thing that I was telling you about, right? You always want to be thinking about your audience first. So, is your audience more likely to be listening to podcasts? Are they male or are they female? Are they the kind of people who are super busy and are more likely to be consuming content as they're doing something else, podcast? Or are they spending a lot of time on social media where they're more likely to be watching video? So take that into consideration. The second thing is the length of the message. This is what I was just talking about, right? If you're going to be considering video versus podcasting, think about how long does it take for you to really share the information that you want to share? And not how long could you talk about it, but how long does it take for you to share the valuable information that you have? Are you more likely to be explaining difficult concepts that take a little bit longer, or can you be giving quick tips and snippets that would be better suited for video? Also think about number 3, the thing in determining video versus podcast for you and your business and your marketing is consistency, right? Because in both cases, effectiveness comes from consistency. You're going to see results when you get consistent. So ask yourself this and be really honest with yourself. Are you going to be consistent if you're creating a podcast? Can you be consistent? Is that something you can show up and do week after week after week? Or could you sit down and do 4 podcasts a month so that you have weekly podcasts? And same question for video. Is it easier for you to be consistent with video, to show up on a live once a week, or to create 1 video per week, or to show up on stories or reels? What is going to be the thing that you can stick to? And this is going to be a personal decision, right? This is going to be up to you. The fourth thing to take into consideration is how much do you need to connect to your audience? Is the problem that you solve a problem that becomes urgent quickly? So let me say that again. Is the problem that you solve with your business a problem that becomes urgent quickly? Do people suddenly realize they have this problem and need a solution right away? If that's the case, then video is going to give you the immediacy that you need. Video is going to give you the ability to build the know, like, and trust factor quicker than with podcast. Now, if the problem that you solve is something that people think about for a long time and they kind of ruminate over and they might like dabble here and there, then podcast might be the way for you, because this is going to allow you to build that relationship up over time. You're going to build the trust up over time. So take that into consideration, right? Do you need to build up the know, like, and trust quickly, in which case video is going to serve you better, or can you do it over time for podcasting? All right. The fifth criteria is, does your information benefit from visuals? Does it make sense for you to be doing demonstrations? Does it make sense for you to be showing up in person? Does it make sense for you to use visuals in order to communicate a complex idea? If it does, you want to go video. And the sixth thing that you want to be thinking about, and this is the big one, is how comfortable are you? Are you more comfortable talking into a microphone, or are you more comfortable getting on video? This goes back to that consistency piece, right? Because if you're fighting through that the discomfort, then it's going to be difficult for you to show up on a regular basis. Now, by the way, I do have a training called the 3 Keys to On-Camera Confidence. So if you are struggling with on-camera confidence, just put 3 keys in the comments, put 3 keys, or reach out to me by direct message, 3 keys in the comments, or reach out directly, and I will send you that free recording on the 3 keys to on-camera confidence. Okay, so make sure that you're comfortable with the format that you choose. And then finally, the 7th piece of the 7th criteria item is going to be, how does it fit into your marketing strategy? You should have a marketing strategy. It goes inside your business strategy, right? Everyone has it? Yes? All right. So make sure that whatever you choose fits into your marketing strategy, right? You need to be looking at things like timeline, right? How long do you have to market? Is this going to be something that is evergreen and ongoing? You need to be looking at your ROI. How much time and energy, money do you have to invest in order to get the results that you're looking for? And are you doing advertising? If you have advertising in your strategy, then you probably want to be thinking about video, because it's a lot easier to be converting your videos into ads than it is to be creating ads out of your podcast. So that's the criteria, audience, the length of your message, where you can be more consistent. How quickly do you want to connect with your audience? Will you benefit from visuals? Are you comfortable? And how does it fit into your marketing plan? Whew, that was a lot, right? It's a lot to think about, but here's the thing. You do want to pick one. You want to commit to a content marketing strategy that you're going to stick with, because no matter which one you choose, it will take time to catch on, right? It's going to take time for your audience to realize where you are and that they love what you have to say, and then they're going to show up on a consistent basis. And that's when you're going to get the results that you're looking for. So you have to be consistent. Now, consistency is the last piece of the puzzle as far as I'm concerned. The first is to gain that clarity. That's what we've been talking about today, right? We've been talking about the clarity level, and that is getting clear on who you're talking to, where you're sharing your content, and what you need to be sharing in your content. Once you've done that, then you can work on the confidence piece. Get comfortable behind the mic or in front of the camera, right? This is going to be critical for you to have success with your content strategy. And then finally, that third piece is the consistency, making sure you show up on a regular basis and you start tweaking your content so that you're getting better and better at it, and you're getting more and more engagement. It's improving your SEO, it's increasing your reach, it's increasing your engagements, and it's increasing your sales. And that's what it's all about, right? Making those connections, building that relationship, and getting more sales, helping more people, increasing your impact. That is what it's all about. Now, if you want some help with that, you can book a free call with me, whether it's podcasting or whether it's video. I can talk to you about either one. We can talk about what might be the best fit for you. So I will put a link where you can book a free 30-minute strategy session with me, and we will talk about what works, what should be your focus, what will work best for you. So I'll put the link in the description And I really hope that you'll connect with me because I absolutely love, love, love helping female entrepreneurs find their voice, whether that is in podcasting or video. And I love helping them get confident so they can see those results so that you can start to grow your business and really help the people that you want to help and serve your ideal customer like mad while making big bucks. All right, so I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you're watching on the replay, please hashtag replay and let me know if you have any questions. I will be answering them. And like I said, if you would like some personal attention, if you're still struggling, podcast, video, not sure which one's going to be right for you, go ahead and book that call. And I will be happy to chat with you about your business and figure out which direction you should be going. All right, that's it for me. Take care. Have a great day. I look forward to connecting with you in person real soon. Bye-bye.